The frick is this? I'll tell you what the frick this is. This is internet magic. Look at this. I'm not even the same anymore. Today we will talk about open system interconnections, or labeled OSI. Easy way to remember whoever invented this frick? Reverse it. It's silly. Today, I will be telling you about one of the most fundamental parts of networking. The 7 layers of the OSI model. It starts down here. No, it doesn't. It starts up here. With layer 7. This, right here, is where it all begins. This is your program. This is your website. This is everything you use. Unless, of course, you're a tech guy. But from 99% of the people, 90-ish% of the people, this is all you're ever going to be using. And coming with layer 7 comes, I like to call, 2 sub-layers. Layer 6 and layer 5. Now, if layer 7 is application, layer 6 is presentation. This is all the stuff that goes down in the background behind your programs. This is what makes everything you do look good. This is what makes it readable, what makes everything, I want to say, work. This layer, although overlooked by many, I want to say is almost just as important as the top layer. Because, I mean, if you know anything about what HTML is, hypertext markup language, then you know how barren it looks by itself. This right here is your makeup artist. This tells you, hey, I want it arranged this way, I want it to look like this, I want it pleasing to the user. Then it goes to the session. This is your final check in connectivity between devices. This causes a decision. Are my devices connected for sure? Is everything transferred? Is everything done? And then it moves up to the presentation and then application. Now, these 3 are all, I want to say, practically the same process. But for the OSI model, they are 3 separate layers. Now, if you want to send packets, and this is the main networking part, you have to start as an application. Like, for example, you want to go to Facebook. You type in the web address, it sends it down. And then, once it gets completely out of here, the application, the layer 7 protocols, that's an important word, remember it. Protocol is anything that has an effect on the internet and in programming and networking in general. Once your protocol goes through these 3 layers, it goes to something called layer 4, transport. And layer 4 transport's job is to segment. Basically, layer 4's job is to cut all of your data into small little pieces. So that way each piece can be transported to the specific port number, you'll find about that later, to get to its destination on the right path. And then from layer 4, it goes down to layer 3, network. Layer 3 network is, you might be familiar with this, IP addressing. This is the main connection between devices. This says, hey, I have the stuff I want to get. It's in enough pieces. Where do I want to send it? This is our final destination on the other computer or server or device that you want to send your data to. And then once it has another IP address, it goes down to layer 2, data link. We're getting closer and closer to the bottom. Data link is exactly what it says. This is your point-to-point link between every device. Every device has something called a MAC address, which we will get to in a couple videos. A MAC address is imprinted onto each and every device, and each and every device has their own individual MAC address. Unless, of course, you go to China, then, of course, they all have duplicates everywhere. But, a little joke. Every device, like I remember this. Every device has a MAC address. For example, this here and this here are my IP addresses. This is the IP address I start from, this is the IP address I go to. This is the MAC address I start from, MAC, 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 MAC. Each link has its own MAC that links the data. Now finally, we are at the bottom. Layer 1. Physical. This right here is where your logical data turns into ones and zeros. Physical data. The physical is these things in between the devices. If you look at this, these are the physical layer. Everything in this room, all of these wires everywhere are the physical layer. Now, what does that mean, you ask? That means that once I know my final destination, my next destination, I can send it. So it turns from, like I said, logical data all the way down to right here, in between middle of layer 2, which we will get to in a few videos. It turns it into ones and zeros here, sends it across the network to the next device, goes up as much as it needs to, it comes back down, back to this layer, it always goes down to this layer until you get to your destination, the U. In which case, it goes right back up. It converts the ones and zeros back to logical data, it checks the MAC address, it checks the IP address, it checks the port, and it checks the session, it checks the presentation, and it sees the application. And then once you got your data, it sends it right back to you. That is networking. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube frick. And at any point in time, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Your answers for last week's homework will appear on the screen here shortly. And for today, your assignment is go out and just try and remember these. It'll take a little bit of time, but it will undoubtedly help you in your endeavors. Have a good day. Enjoy yourself.